Good morning and happy blessed Friday. So I was thinking about something about how many spaces you encounter or you enter into that without directly asking you or requesting that you deny yourself or parts of yourself just to be in those spaces. And then the contradictory kind of wording around wanting to fill the space with culture and diversity and inclusion. And I just chuckled this morning because it made me think about a conversation I had with my son one day. And, you know, when this modern day plague slash pandemic hit, he was faced with working from home and going to school from home, and how he found himself in spaces where he felt like a lot of people were just easily led and eager to comply. And he recalled being on the phone with some students, and they were requesting that people download this app so that they could monitor them taking tests. And he didn't feel good about that or comfortable, and I agreed with him, right? Like at this point, his point was, I'm not even getting a real good education at this point. Like all they do is put on videos, or they just kind of rush through things, and it's really hard to concentrate. And I agreed. And then we kind of filtered into this conversation around he said it was funny to me. He was like, who actually goes to school and then to get a good job, and then one day be sitting in a cubicle for the rest of their lives. He said, who the fuck wants to be in a cubicle their whole life? Which is true. Like you're like produced or downloaded and then produced to be in these spaces that are not natural, sitting all day, being around people you really don't like all day. And in those spaces, you are asked to show up in these very professional ways. Now, professionalism is interesting because it asks you to comply in these dangerous ways that ultimately they chip away at your internal self, which then lead to like a lot of physical, mental, and spiritual damage. Because the idea to enter in and to be part of something that isn't real, something that's really built upon lies, and it isn't true, right? And the more you're in these spaces, what keeps you going is that check, the money, right? So you're like essentially selling yourself for something. It's a modern day type of slavery. And so I think about times and places where the denial of self is being asked to then take on a mask, a hat, a persona that doesn't really fit with you internally, spiritually, physically, mentally, and how easy it is to fall into those traps, right? To fear not having, and therefore I will then comply. I will then be and do as I'm asked to do in these ways that aren't natural, don't really align with who you are, why you're here, and what you stand for, like your purpose, right? It chips away at that. And so I thought it was fitting, and thought about in what ways has professionalism asked you to deny yourself, or deny the communities you come from, and what the impact of it is. And so, ramping up like my self-care, usually spiritually, right? Because anytime I interface with what I feel like is really dark works, the way that I remain grounded is to hear something very solid, which I find in the Bible. So I wonder, and it was a thought that I had and I wanted to share. So thanks for listening. I love you. Happy blessed Friday.